So the real question is, should you tell your family how much money you make? Is it the Christian thing to do? Does it come off bragging, or does it allow for some transparency? Let's unpack this question. Before we get into the video, if you want your personal finance questions answered in a private setting, we can do so through my budget coaching program, Budget Bootcamp. I will link to that in the description below if you're interested. We can talk about your money goals in a very private setting, and it's gonna be awesome. Hey, what's up guys? It's Justine with Debt Free Millennials, the channel to help you crush your debt and live payment free. I'm all about financial transparency, and I got a question from Joy May of Millennial Money Talk right here on YouTube. Go check out her channel if you're interested. She's pretty funny. And she asked, and she actually suggested this as a video topic, should you tell your family members how much money you make? I think that especially in the US, money can be such a taboo topic to discuss around the dinner table. And I want to give you some pros and cons of what could happen in this situation. Okay, so I think a pro in telling your family how much money you make is that you create financial transparency. When you open up about how much money you make, it can lead to other good, healthy financial topics and conversations such as debt, home ownership, investing, and more. And so the more that you can share and be open and transparent, the more that is going to be reciprocated, and that people can feel like they can be honest about their financial situation. Now, you guys know through my beers and budgeting episodes with my husband Kyle, we are very transparent about our take home and our expenses, and then we do our year-end review videos where we are tallying up exactly how much money we are bringing home in the entire year. Anyone can look up those videos, including our family members, so they have a pretty good idea of how much money we're making. So Kyle and I are pretty transparent with our parents and our siblings about how much money we make. And if one of my friends just came up and asked me and said, Justine, how much money you make, I'm definitely going to tell them, because I want to create a culture where there's financial transparency. I think that's really helpful. Another pro that I think would be helpful if you were to tell your family members how much money you make is that that family member could help you negotiate a higher salary. So if you think you got a really good offer, chances are maybe your mom or dad or a sibling or anyone that you trust with this information could help you negotiate that higher, or have an understanding of what the industry average is for your position and what that salary range may be. And I think that could be really, really helpful, especially if you're just starting out in your career, to look for those opportunities. And the way that you're able to do that is lean on people who have already been there and done that with salary negotiation. Now, of course, there are some cons that you want to consider before you share this information. And I think one of the things is your family could take advantage of you. I think that your family has good intentions at heart. However, you could run into a situation where if you are making a really high salary, you could see some people who, start coming to you with their money problems, or asking you to lend them some money, or can they borrow a certain amount of money. So you could take that into consideration. I think you'll run into that issue if you're a higher income earner. Another thing that you might run into that could be looked at as a con is that you may be treated differently than other family members. This again works if you are a high income earner, because your family may view you as like, oh well, they're good, they make enough money, so I am not going to help them like I thought I would, or they're going to pay for all of their own stuff when maybe the expectation was something different. It really does depend on your family's dynamic. So I've seen that with family members. They are going to be more inclined to help the person who is struggling financially versus the person who isn't. So you could get some different treatment based upon how much you're making. Now, I was looking up some research on this and I saw a really good article from financialsamurai.com, and this guy had like a really interesting story because he said he told his friend his salary because his friend was like, hey, if you tell me what you make, this will help me with my own negotiations and my own career, and it ended up backfiring on him. So in the article, he has kind of a list of the pros and cons. And what I really liked about what he said for pros of not saying anything is that you can always play down your wealth and you don't have to feel like you always have to pay because you make more. And then the downside of it is you start associating your identity with your income. You may come across as arrogant and boastful. I've definitely thought about that as I've shared, my income reports and then how much money Kyle and I make together. How does that come across? Are we being, my goal is that we're being transparent, but maybe it comes across as boastful. Another thing about revealing your income that he says in this article is that you can be judged by everything you spend and don't spend your money on. So he kind of gives examples of donating to charity or buying a car or not buying a car and still driving a beater. And I definitely have felt that in some instances where even though Kyle and I are good income earners, we still rent. And so a lot of times our family is like, why are you still renting? Buy a house, buy a house, buy a house. And it can be a little difficult to navigate. So in conclusion of this, do I think you should tell your family members how much money you make? I think it depends. If you want to create an environment of financial transparency and one where you can create healthy boundaries where you know that you're not going to be trampled on for picking up the bill just because you make a good salary, then I think you should share. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and say, I think I would lean more towards sharing that with people that you trust, because that's going to create a culture of being open with your finances, which I think is what we need to change. The more open we can be about our finances, the better money decisions we can make for us and our family members too. We can learn from each other in that aspect. Just be careful with setting your boundaries and making sure that you aren't coming across as boastful or sharing so much information that you find family members are now kind of taking advantage of the situation. I think people have good intentions, but you'll have to feel that out and just know the personality of your family members. So I want to know, big question in the comments below, have you told your family how much money you make? Why or why not? Don't forget, if you want to check out my one-on-one budget coaching program, Budget Bootcamp, where we can tackle your financial goals and make a plan of action, I will link to that in the description below. And I'll catch you guys in another video.